How's everyone doing? Have you had a good Ignite so far? Good, awesome. Folks in the back, there's a ton of room in the front if you want to move up. We promise we are nice people. We don't bite. Yeah, if you feel comfortable there, that's fine too. Awesome. Well, thank you for spending your morning with us. I'm Shilpa Bothra. I lead the data security and marketing team. I'm joined by my friend and colleague, Jim. He's an architect for Field and Partner Center of Excellence. Today, we're going to talk about why data security is becoming really, really important as you've been talking to your customers about adopting Gen AI and as you're helping them. So we'll touch upon a couple things that we've announced this Ignite, what we are hearing from our customers in conversations. We'll discuss how Microsoft Purview can help, show you some demos, and then Jim's going to cover a lot of what would be very interesting to this group around like how do we partner better together with our partners, and we'll leave you with some resources. So let's get started. Data security is almost in like spotlight because of generative AI. I've been working on the data security team for the last 5 years. I can promise I've never been this busy. This like last year, after we announced Copilot, like things just blew up. And suddenly everybody cared about data security. But realistically, like data security incidents have been something that's been happening for a really, really long time. It's just that the cybersecurity industry has been more focused on threats, and now they are realizing that ultimately everything is about data, because the bad actors are trying to ultimately get to your data, whether they come through an identity attack or a different kind of attack. But we are also seeing the severity of these data security incidents increase year over year. So in our annual research this year, we found that 20% of data security incidents were more severe than they were in 2023. The attackers are also getting creative. But out of the entire swath of data security incidents, insiders actually account for a huge chunk of it, 63%. And that's your malicious insiders, your inadvertent insiders, people who shouldn't be sharing information but are sharing information. And then organizations are generally very, very concerned about data security risks as you adopt Gen AI. Although essential, securing data is not easy. It's more nuanced, and it's nuanced because not only is the amount of data and the amount of data sources growing at an exponential rate, organizations have different types of data, and each of those different types of data needs different type of protection. And you can't blanket apply a policy to all of your data in the organization. And then the other angle of that is users. So not only the data is different, but users are different. The amount of access that they need, what they need to do with the data, what outcomes they want to drive is very, very different. So when you start to combine these things together, it's actually a pretty multifaceted, complicated problem to solve. And along with that, as I've been talking about Gen AI, like the past 10 years, we lived in a digital transformation world. I think now we are living in an AI transformation world where the CIOs in every company really wants to adopt generative AI because it's amazing. It has so much potential. But then the CISO's office is like, hey, let's talk about all of the security concerns and privacy concerns that come with it. But Gen AI will also create net new risks that we probably don't know today. Today, we are talking about risks that they amplify, which already exist. But there's going to be net new risks, and it's only going to make this problem more complicated. And of course, regulations. It continues to evolve. We are seeing new regulations, AI-specific regulations, existing regulations that are evolving. So I'm sure as you guys are talking to your customers, you're hearing these things, which is like making this space more complicated. But if we double-click on just the Gen AI pieces of it, I mentioned we've been very busy in the data security space since last year. In all of our conversations with customers, it kind of boils down to a couple big chunks of challenges that we hear. Shadow AI, is that something that's resonating? Are you hearing from your customers about trying to figure out what AI their users are using and getting visibility into shadow AI. So we constantly hear that, like, help me understand what's happening in my environment, what AI tools are my users using. Who here has heard data oversharing? Yeah, almost everyone in the room. So a big, big problem. Top of mind, the top concern that we hear from customers is, oh, I never got a handle on my data. Now I have AI, and then AI is just so much more faster than humans to go find information and share information and create insights and create new information. How do I get a handle on all of this? And then we talked about regulations. There is increased liability to comply with that. But the solution that is in the market, most solutions that are in the market are actually very fragmented, where you could use one solution to do the discovery piece, identify your data, another solution to do like the protection piece, another solution to understand like user intent and behavior. And logic would say that, hey, if I use best of breed solutions, I'm basically using the best puzzle pieces that I can, and if I put them together, my puzzle is going to be gorgeous. But research actually shows that the more fragmented your solution landscape is, the higher the chance of your data security being weak. Why? Because the solutions are actually creating more inconsistent classification. As an example, like one solution, the way they classify the information, the way they classify the data, the other, your DLP solution, might not actually understand that. Or you use 𝗬𝗍𝗸𝗶 type solution that might give you user activity context, but it doesn't actually pull information from the classification tool. And then I think the customers and you all have to like spend a bunch of time drawing insights and analyzing everything and doing most of the work to like stitch all of these together. Because of which there can be blind spots. And these blind spots lead to exposure gap, which leads to more data security incidents, and it then becomes like this vicious cycle that we are living through. That is what Microsoft Purview is actually designed to solve. It is an integrated set of products that help you secure and govern your data. We think about Microsoft Purview in three big buckets: data security, which is what we'll cover most of the time. How do you secure your data no matter where it lives? Data in transit, data at rest, understanding user context. We have data governance, which is all about responsibly unlocking value, and then we have the data compliance solutions. But the real power and the differentiation of Microsoft Purview is really in the shared capabilities. So once you classify that data, all of these products in product categories understand the same classification because they are built on the same platform. So we have unified data classification, data labeling, data map, which solves for some of those frictions that we were talking about in the slide before this. So with that, let's double click on data security and what our approach to data security is. I talked about how most organizations still struggle with visibility, just the discovery of what data sets do I have, which of them should be prioritized, which of these data sets should have sensitive information or not. But data doesn't move itself. It's the people who move the data. So if you're just looking at the data by itself and saying, okay, here's my data set, here's my data, here's how I'm going to create protection policies, you're missing a really, really important piece, which is how is that data flowing in your organization? Who's interacting with it? Do they need to interact with it? Is there some sort of a malicious intent behind these interactions? Until and unless you can combine that user context with the data context, you're still going to be doing data protection like it was happening maybe like 10 years ago in like the traditional sense of DLP. So what Microsoft Purview Data Security provides is a set of three very deeply integrated products: information protection, which is our data discovery, data classification, encryption, labeling solution; DLP, very standard, DLP solution; and then insider risk management, which provides the user intent. And a couple examples here. So if you use information protection and data loss prevention together, the value that you start to unlock is you can automatically classify, automatically label your data, but now you can use that classification and labeling in your DLP policies so that you can, based on that classification and labeling, create prevention policies. If you use information protection and insider risk management together, you can start to understand what kind of sensitive information your users are working with, how is it moving, how is it changing, so it's all integrated. And then when you combine insider risk management and data loss prevention is where I think magic happens with adaptive protection. Now you can start to do things like, hey, Jim is a high-risk user. He's planning to leave Microsoft with all of the IP that he's working on. I need to put Jim in the strictest DLP policy versus Shilpa here doing her job, accessing sensitive information that she should be accessing as part of her daily work. I don't need to put her in restrictive DLP policy because like the whole point is you need to be able to balance protection with productivity. Because what a restrictive DLP policy does is it just blocks everybody from doing everything. That's not the whole point. That's not the point that we're trying to achieve here. So adaptive protection, I think, enables that and really allows organizations to take a more modern approach to data security. So really quickly, how do we think Purview can help with data security in this AI transformation world? A couple things that we think about. So we talked about discovering sensitive data, risks to your data. So we have announcements around how do we help you understand the data security posture of your organization, not only the data security posture of all traditional data, but generative AI specific data. So we'll dive more into that. Once you have that, you of course want protection policies in place, because like that's the whole point, right? Great, I see posture, but what do I do with it? Until and unless I can protect it. So we have tons of new capabilities in that pillar that can help you protect and prevent data loss. And then last, data security is nuanced, as I mentioned. It's not one size fits all. So even if you have those protection policies, chances are data security incidents will happen. They might be less severe. But once in a while, you'll have a data security incident. And then when you have that, you need to be able to investigate and then quickly remediate that. So with all of that long monologue, let's actually see some things in action and talk about what we've announced. So anybody heard data security posture management in Charlie's keynote? Okay, awesome. So that's one of our big announcements around data security posture management. Before I dive right in, data security posture management for us is more than just data discovery, data classification. It's also more than just understanding user activity. It's actually bringing those two things together so that you're looking at the bigger picture. You're trying to identify, hey, where are my top risks in my organization? What do I need to go address today? And can I do it more effectively in the same place in an integrated way? So I'm going to show you three things. We'll talk about reports, we'll talk about recommendations, and then we'll talk about trends in that order. So, also very easy to get started. What I'm not showing here is a getting started experience. It's an opt-in, of course, but then once you opt in, within 48 to 72 hours, you'll start to see insights. And one big thing is, if you don't use Microsoft Purview today, so if you don't use any of our data security solutions, you will still get these insights. So there is no policy config that's required. It's meant to help you help your customers get started really, really quickly. And then if you already use, and your customers are already using some of our data security solutions, those insights will automatically get pulled into this view. So there is something for everybody in here. Okay, so let's look at our analytics reports. What we are seeing here is basically two main cards. One is around unprotected sensitive assets, because that's what we care about. We want to know what type of assets are unprotected. So if I go into view report, I can get a detailed view of like what are my unprotected assets? So let's just look at SharePoint. So I see there are 31,000 plus SharePoints in my tenant. That's unprotected asset. And then within those, I can also see what type of sensitive information is unprotected. These are sensitive information types that you can get out of the box in Purview, your custom sensitive information types, exact data match, so many others. So we'll show all of that. But then next to it, you can also see unlabeled asset count. So in that asset count of 31,000, how many files are actually not labeled? And if the files are labeled, the last column tells you how many files are just labeled without protection. So now you can start to get a sense of, okay, how many files are labeled, not labeled, do I have encryption or not? And then we're providing that in a very, 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 very simple view. So if I go back to my overview page, that was the data piece. But remember, I mentioned it's the users that move the data, not the data itself. So then we have another insights, which is all about the user's insight and how that interaction is happening. So if I go into view report, I can start to see some potential activities in my organization. So some exfiltration activities have happened, emails have been sent outside my organization, but then it gets correlated with what is the risk level of these users? Like which one of them are high impact users, means if their identity was compromised, we would have a huge, huge impact of a data security risk in an organization. How many of these users are departing users? We often hear from customers that they want to put the departing users into a DLP policy. So you start to get those user insights. So, and of course, over time, the more you use this solution, the richer reports you get. So that's report. The second thing I said was I'm going to show some recommendations. So right up here, you see two cards. These are recommendations that Purview is providing based on the activity that's already happening in the tenant. And on these activities, let's look at this. I am seeing here some sequential activities have happened in the organization that might lead to a leak of sensitive data. So I'm seeing, oh, Project Obsidian, which is a very top secret project in my organization, is at risk here. So right from here, DSPM is giving me a recommendation to create a DLP and an insider risk management policy. I want to pause. This is really powerful. And the reason this is powerful is no longer do you have to create a DLP policy separately in DLP, an IRM policy separately in IRM, and yourself make the connection between the two policies to solve for this use case. We are doing that here. We're giving you recommendation on, okay, we will help you create both policies in the back end. There's a bunch of defaults here that we provide in terms of what templates we will use, what indicators. All of this is obviously customizable. And then right from here, we can say create policies. It's that simple. And what it does behind the scenes is you get two policies, one DLP policy, one IRM policy, but no longer you have to do the mapping by yourself. So that's recommendation. And then the third thing I said we would talk about is trends. So if you were paying attention to what I said earlier, we talked about data at rest, data in transit, and then user activity around the data. That's the trend line that you see here. Once you start using DSPM for almost 30 days, the whole point of a data security posture management solution is to tell you, is your posture improving? Is more content getting labeled? Are your policies working the way it should be? So you will get a data at rest and trend, which is how many assets are being labeled, how many sensitive assets are covered with one DLP policy, and how many of them are potentially risky users. So that, in a nutshell, is what DSPM is. But of course, it's an AI-first world. Customers are going through AI transformation. What are we doing for AI? And we all heard common causes. We all heard oversharing. So before I go too deep into DSPM for AI, I do want to talk about oversharing really quickly. So oversharing, there are a lot of common causes of oversharing. It is when sensitive data is overshared. And it can be when you've set your site label to public. It can be when you've given access to people that shouldn't have access to. For example, your files are set to everyone except external users, domain group. So it's not a GenAI created problem. It's a problem that happens when you unleash GenAI into an unmanaged data security state. And really quickly, let's look at how we are solving for it. So we also announced DSPM for AI, which was previously known as AI Hub. It's generally available. Again, the same thing. You'll see reports, which are your trend lines on how many interactions are happening with Copilot, how interactions are happening with different GenAI apps, trying to solve the shadow AI problem here. You will see recommendations, protect your data from potential oversharing. So let's click into oversharing recommendation and start to see what we are offering. Oversharing assessments, we announced this in public preview, but here's where you can start to get detailed into, by default, we cover top 100 SharePoint sites. Of course, you can customize that, but on those 100 SharePoint sites, how much of your data is labeled, how much of your data is not labeled. And right from here, you can start to get richer insights. I think the most important one, or my favorite one, is like the last one on the right, data with sharing links. So we are bringing the permissions in the file with sensitivity of the file to give you a view into, hey, what could potentially be a overshared content in your tenant. So let's look at this first one. We see Project Obsidian, top secret project. We can very easily see what are the files related to Project Obsidian, because we really care about that project, how many of them are labeled or not labeled, what kind of sensitive information they have, and right from here you can start to do some sort of policy and protection. So let's see that. I'll go back into my oversharing assessment, and then right here. So in Protect, we offer you a bunch of different options. You can do coarse-grained controls, restrict the entire SharePoint site from Copilot, so Copilot doesn't access any of that. Or you can start to do more fine-grained control, which are like, I only want to restrict files. Because again, you want the users to be using that data. And then right from here, you can create a policy. You can choose a sensitivity label. We care about Project Obsidian, so we're going to select Project Obsidian, and you can create a policy. What this policy does is it'll create a standard DLP policy behind the scenes where now, based on that label of Project Obsidian or Obsidian merger, Copilot will not summarize any content from that label. This was the top ask from customers since we announced Copilot. So that's what we are calling DLP for Copilot. And really quickly, to show one other thing that I wanted to show before I hand it off to Jim, is going to be risky users. Remember, we talked about data doesn't move itself. People move data. So we need insights into how your users are interacting with Copilot. So right here, I see 10% of users have been detected sending risky AI prompts into Copilot. Again, from this exact experience, I can create a policy. This will now create an insider risk management policy behind the scenes, which allow you to detect risky usage, and then from there, you can start to investigate those alerts in insider risk management. So now we see there's a risky AI usage policy in an organization. Let's click on it and see what's happening. This is a beautiful night sky view of what are the different events and activities happening in this organization, but really powerful is sequence detection. So in sequence detection, you can start to see, hey, some of the labels on these sensitive files were removed. And then sensitive response was received from Copilot. And when the labeled file was removed, the file was then accessed by Copilot as well. So you can start to see and paint a picture of the user trying to do risky activities with Copilot. And then we are stitching that along with the file permissions and labels to help you bring that triangle back. So it's all about data at rest, data in motion, as well as how your users are interacting with data. That's really the couple big announcements, which I think can help customers, help your customers get really, really quickly get started with AI. There's a ton of other announcements on data security that we announced this week, which will be very helpful in just continuing to strengthen data security. I've taken more time than I was allotted, so I'll hand it to Jim to talk about all of the exciting stuff.
Awesome. Thank you, Shilpa. So awesome, great features. As someone that works with this and helping you guys bring this to market, I love them. It's going to make my life easier, which is going to make your lives easier. So let's kind of switch gears and talk why this is important for all of you who are our partners working on this every day. So first, every year, Microsoft commissions an independent study from Forrester to evaluate the partner opportunity for partners considering building or growing their security practices centered on Microsoft technologies. In our most recent report that came out this July, Forrester found that enterprise-focused partners that invested in Microsoft security, developing both their internal capabilities and Microsoft relationships, saw a 10% increase in their revenue for their services and their solutions. For the partners out there that focused on managed services, they saw that revenue increase 17% year over year. If we look at the small business space, which Forrester classifies as partners who are serving customers smaller than 300 employees, the year-over-year results are even more impressive. Revenue up 19%, and if they had managed services focused on data security, we're looking at revenue of 53% increases. So just as Shilpa said, this really has exploded in the age of AI. When we focus on the partners that have already incorporated or expanding their portfolio to include data security, that growth was even stronger. So if we thought that everything was all up Microsoft security before, this was our fastest growing solution area in that opportunity and seen as really the next adjacent area that partners were previously focused on maybe threats and attacks are adding to bring new offerings. For the partners that are focusing on small business, again, year-over-year growth was fantastic. So everybody is now focusing on data security. It is that sticky offering. It gives you that advisory, it gives you deployment, and you can now sell those data security and compliance managed services offerings to your customers. So what's driving this growth? When we asked what was driving it in their data security, it was no surprise that generative AI, like Microsoft 365 Copilot, led the way. For customers that were adopting generative AI solutions, improving data security is often being made that top priority as part of that initiative, with governance and preparation making up a big part of the upfront work. Partners that have added Gen AI readiness and advisory services to their offers have seen them become a key part of over 35% of their deals. The partners also identified that the IT leaders at their customers are under increased pressure to reduce those costs while maintaining or ideally improving the security posture. Customers are seeing Microsoft as more than just a platform, as a platform instead of that collection of best-in-breed solutions. And this is really seen, as Shilpa noted, through that product maturity, through bringing those puzzle pieces together on a Microsoft unified platform. Finally, with the advanced data security solutions in Microsoft 365 E5 and Microsoft 365 Business Premium being adopted by more and more customers, it's made it easier for the partners to expand into new solution areas such as compliance and multi-cloud security. So if we take this all together, these trends have really continued to drive an increase in the total potential partner revenue at any given customer through that successful execution of land and expand strategies that many of you are probably already doing. So between the new product advancements, the growing economic opportunity available, we want to make sure that all partners are prepared with the right resources, training, incentives, and investments to achieve that successful joint go-to-market with Microsoft and be recognized as leaders in delivering Microsoft Purview data security-focused solutions to their customers. So to support that and to help all you, we've created a great selection of resources for partners to help them succeed in developing data security businesses. So for partners first looking to expand into or expand their existing data security practices, one of the first things we always see them look for is how do they make sure they have the necessary knowledge and skills to be successful. So to assist with this, we've developed several courses, training, and self-paced learning resources to help partner teams quickly accelerate their knowledge of Microsoft Purview and data security solutions. For sales teams, we've developed courses for both sales professionals and pre-sales architects. The courses are designed to help both new and seasoned Microsoft security professionals immerse themselves in Microsoft data security and learn to navigate Microsoft Purview-centric discussions, develop outcomes that meet business requirements, and appropriately address their concerns and handle any possible objections. For technical teams, these learning resources go even deeper and provide individuals with the knowledge and skills necessary to begin implementing Microsoft data security solutions for their customers. Additionally, the training courses will help them specifically prepare for the skills required for certification exams. For each of the above activities, we offer both live and on-demand readiness resources so that your teams can choose the option that best looks for their learning style and schedule. For the on-demand resources, they are offered either through our self-paced learning or through webinar-style instructor-driven deliveries. The self-paced resources, those are available on Microsoft Learn. Learn provides the IT pro guidance with technical learning paths using Microsoft-developed guidance on how to best deploy, configure, and manage Purview solutions. Microsoft Level Up, which is also available to all partners, provides curated, instructor-led, on-demand training for pre-sales and implementation practitioners. Trainings are available 24/7 and have been translated into 8 languages, including French, German, Spanish, Japanese, and Korean. For our live training courses, we offer the same great content as the on-demand sessions, but this time with a live instructor delivered via an online classroom-style meeting format. This allows participants to not only immerse themselves in the content, but to be able to learn alongside their peers and colleagues in a group environment. For the technical sessions, lab environments are provided to each participant, allowing them to work alongside with the instructor as they go through the course material in real time. Our goal is to provide your teams with the training they need in the format and timeline they are looking and able to best consume it. So now we've got everybody trained up, ready to deliver awesome data security solutions. Every organization has a sales methodology they follow. This helps their teams identify new opportunities, develop solutions, and drive ongoing adoption of their products. At Microsoft, we call this process MSEM. Formerly, it's known as the Microsoft Customer Engagement Methodology. It's designed to be a continuous flywheel of engagement, and it contains 5 core steps to support successful orchestration between all of the various teams at Microsoft that engage with a customer across their lifecycle. For our partners, we've created and identified specific activities and associated assets for your teams that line up to each of our core solution stages. So as you go to market alongside Microsoft, you can feel confident that the message and discussions you're having with customers are aligned and in sync with the actions and messages being delivered by our internal teams. So the first set of activities are co-marketing resources. We refer to them as campaign in a box. Free to all partners, these assets are ready-to-go campaigns that your marketing teams can leverage to fully align to the Microsoft value prop, messaging, and branding. They're available for all of our primary solution areas, including data security, and are available in 11 different languages. There's 2 methods you can use to leverage the campaign materials. The first is what we call digital marketing content. It's a fully automated campaign run with Microsoft tooling, allowing for automatic delivery and nurturing of your prospects with basic customization. The second is through our partner asset library, called the Partner Marketing Center. You get access to the same materials that were used in the digital campaign, provided as a single kit. Your sales and marketing team can then take that kit, further customize it, and integrate it into your marketing tooling of choice to run your own campaigns. So as Microsoft partners, you're free to choose whichever approach is most applicable for your business. One of the other common questions we often receive from partners is how do we properly represent Microsoft security solutions when we're building our own materials and resources? So we're happy to announce that for FY25, we released a data security messaging and positioning framework specifically developed for Microsoft partners. It's included as part of the digital assets provided in the campaign in a box This messaging framework provides the clarity and consistency for how to discuss Microsoft data security solutions when developing messaging and campaigns. You can use this information with this document in all forms: analyst meetings, public relations, events, web, social, and conversations with your stakeholders. The next MSIM stage, Inspiring Design, is all about identifying customer interests in joint solutions. So to assist partners who are working with customers in this stage, we've created the Partner Security Engagements. Partner Security Engagements are pre-packaged, customizable delivery kits developed by Microsoft's security architects to assist partners in having real-world, data-driven conversations with their customers. The engagements create that aha moment for all your customers by highlighting actual issues or threats in their organization, or to define requirements that can best be met by software solutions from Microsoft, and more importantly, services delivered by partners. Available through the Microsoft Commerce incentives, the security engagements are partner-nominated and led activities. This allows you to identify, select, nominate, and pursue customers that meet defined eligibility criteria with a completely self-serve process. Each engagement provides delivery guides with step-by-step instructions, supporting collateral such as PowerPoint presentations, marketing emails, flyers, test files, and PowerShell scripts. Everything you need to go to get going. All the materials can be used as is, but we really encourage you to customize them to fit your needs, align them with your company brand, include your additional services and offerings as part of the next steps. We were just in a meeting last week. We heard some partners say for every engagement they run, they get 3 to 5 downstream services engagements. So they're really powerful and have driven a lot of success for our partners. We keep them up to date to align with both the changes and advances in our product portfolio and the messaging and marketing materials. So newly available to a lot of partners this year is the Data Security Engagement. It's designed to help partners highlight the value of Microsoft Purview data security and compliance solutions such as information protection, data loss prevention, insider risk management, and communication compliance. It does this by highlighting potentially unprotected sensitive data or dark, or highlighting specific user behavior without creating any permanent impact or footprint in the customer environment. The Data Security Engagement helps partners build a Purview adoption roadmap to prepare their customers to maximize those AI opportunities. Data Security Engagement is available to any partner holding the Microsoft Security designation for any customer whose Microsoft 365 tenant meets the listed qualification criteria. For opportunities where partners are engaging with your local Microsoft account teams to jointly drive outcomes to customers, additional funding can be available through our end customer investment funds. We call these ESIF. They're available for those opportunities that meet the necessary account segment, ROI criteria, and they can really help unblock and accelerate sales and deployment as we get closer to that final stage. So, although the other ones were partner nominated, these are submitted through your Microsoft sales teams. Their ESIF activities are partner statement of work driven. It is still your work and your services, and they can be used to deliver pre-sales activities such as proof of concepts, architecture design, or post-sales activities such as deployment, migration, and adoption. Once the customer's made their decision to go with Microsoft for the security suite, and with you as their partner providing solutions and services, we want to make sure they're successful not only in activating and deploying, but also continue to use and adopt the solutions throughout their business. So the Security Usage Incentive rewards partners who are being designated as a customer security partner of record to help drive the ongoing adoption of Microsoft security solutions. As an example, for Microsoft Purview, partners can earn the continued adoption of both Purview Insider Risk Management and Purview Information Protection at all customers they are actively engaged with. For each eligible tenant, partners could earn up to potentially $40,000 for successfully driving Microsoft Purview data security solution adoption. How do we get recognized? So how many of you are familiar with the Microsoft AI Cloud Partner Program? Thank you. Everybody in this room raised their hands. This is the key to take advantage of all the resources and incentives that we just covered, as well as the way to differentiate yourself from your peers. By highlighting your competency and the ability to deliver top-tier Microsoft-based services and solutions, you can really place yourself in a select group of Microsoft partners. For partners that currently have or are expanding their business to include a focus on data security, there are 2 recognitions that are available and relevant for you. The first is the Solution Partner Security Designation. This designation recognizes the partner's knowledge and capability in delivering and selling Microsoft security solutions. It's the baseline for being identified as a Microsoft security partner. Achieving the designation is made possible through the Partner Capability Score, which holistically measures an organization's technical capabilities and experience across performance, skilling, and customer success. Depending on your customer profile, we have a path for partners who support enterprise customers and another for partners who focus on the SMB market. The second, the Information Protection and Governance specialization, highlights an organization's deep expertise and capabilities by delivering continued growth through customer referenceable solutions based on Microsoft Purview. IP&G specialized partners are seen as the go-to partners across Microsoft. Earning that specialization unlocks exclusive badging for a partner's business profile and validates their capabilities to customers while giving them the associated benefits, expanded customer reach, greater customer confidence, and greater opportunities for co-sell. Attaining a solutions partner designation is the first step to earning these specializations. So by achieving and maintaining the designations and specializations, partners can unlock all of the benefits that 𝗦𝗽𝗀𝗀𝗃𝗃 has to offer. So I hope we've been able to show everyone today that for customers adopting AI, that data security has never been more critical. By taking advantage of the expanding market opportunity, new Purview features and resources capable, as well as a comprehensive set of go-to-market resources, partners can really position themselves for continued success in the months and years ahead. First, make sure that your teams have the knowledge and skills necessary to articulate and address your customers' data security challenges. Take advantage of the self-paced, on-demand, and live training courses available to deepen their expertise in Microsoft Purview data security. Second, use the Microsoft AI Cloud Partner Program to help differentiate your business. If you haven't already, start your journey to attain that solutions designation for security. As your data security practice starts to evolve and find success, continue to further showcase your capabilities through the Information Protection and Governance specialization. Finally, accelerate your business by taking advantage of the co-marketing and co-selling investments that Microsoft has made available to their partners. Use the Campaign in a Box material to start uncovering new leads. Use the partner security engagements to highlight those real-world challenges and co-develop a path forward with your customers. Customize them and make them your own. Finally, maximize those security usage incentives by helping customers deploy and adopt Microsoft Purview solutions. So all the links here, as well as a copy of this presentation, we're going to have available after the Ignite session, so please don't try and write all of these down. I know there's a lot on here. So we hope you found this really enlightening. So for additional information on everything Shilpa talked about and announced on Purview Data Security this week, these following resources take you a bunch of the great information, including some really fantastic mechanics videos that show all of this in action. Also want to make sure I encourage you to check out all the other sessions for expanding your partner security business and for information on how to take advantage of all the great capabilities that Microsoft Purview brings to bear in the era of AI. For anything that happened earlier this week, you'll be able to find the materials and the session recordings on the Ignite portal. Hope everybody learned something great today. We'll be up front for questions if you have any at the end. Please rate the survey. Hope you give us good ratings. If not, this session was totally about SecOps and not data security. Thank you very much, everyone.